Hello! Today we will show you how to create animation of raindrops falling on the ground in Cinema 4D. Create a landscape by clicking and holding on the cube icon and choosing landscape from the pop-up palette. Go to the Object tab, increase the width and depth segments to 400 and adjust the default camera. Add a material to the landscape you just created. To do this, open the Asset browser by clicking on the Asset browser logo. Search for soil. Drag and drop the soil RD Textures soil onto the landscape in the Object Manager and close the Asset browser. Now let's create a thin layer of rainwater, which we will use to create the effect of raindrops falling on the ground with splashes. For this, duplicate the landscape by pressing the Control button on your keyboard and clicking and dragging the landscape in the Object Manager. Rename the landscape Point 1 to Layer of Rainwater. Delete the material tag of the layer of rainwater. Open the Asset browser. Search for water. Drag and drop the water material onto the layer of rainwater in the Object Manager. Close the Asset browser. Select the layer of rainwater in the Object Manager. Go to the Coordinates tab and set the PY property to 0.1 centimeters. So we simulated a landscape with a layer of water on it, like it happens during rain. Now let's start creating the effect of raindrops falling on the ground with splashes. To better understand the process, turn off materials in the viewport for a while by opening the Options menu in the viewport and clicking on Materials. Create an emitter by opening the Simulate menu and clicking on Emitter. Go to the Emitter tab of the emitter and increase the X and Y sizes of the emitter to 500. Go to the Coordinates tab of the emitter. Set the RP property to -90 degrees so that the emitter emits downwards, and set the PY to about 300 centimeters so that the emitter is above the visible part of the scene. Now let's make raindrops. Create a sphere by clicking and holding on the cube icon and choosing sphere from the pop-up palette. Go to the Object tab of the sphere. Reduce the radius to 0.5 centimeters and make the sphere a child of the emitter. Select the emitter in the Object Manager. Go to the Particle tab. Increase the birth rate viewport and birth rate renderer to 300. Set the stop emission to frame 600. Increase the speed to 300 centimeters. And check the Show Objects box. Create a displacer deformer by clicking and holding on the band icon and choosing Displacer from the pop-up palette. And make the displacer deformer a child of the layer of rainwater. Go to the Shading tab of the displacer deformer. Click on the small triangle to the right of the shader and select Color from the drop-down menu. Go to the Fields tab of the displacer deformer and create a particle field layer by clicking and holding on the solid, selecting the particle object, and clicking on the emitter in the Object Manager. Go to the Layer tab of the particle field layer and set the radius to 8 centimeters. Go to the Remapping tab of the particle field layer. Reduce the strength to 30%. Scroll down. Set the contour mode to curve. Move down. Press the Load preset and select the Gauss. Extend the timeline to 600 frames and test the animation. Now we've got the effect of raindrops falling on the ground with splashes, but actually this effect happens a little before the raindrops reach the ground. This will be clearly visible if we reduce the speed of the emitter. To fix this, place the sphere in the null object by selecting the sphere in the Object Manager, pressing and holding the Alt button on your keyboard, and creating a null object by clicking on the null logo. Go to the Object tab of the null object and switch the shape from dot to none, so that the null objects themselves are not displayed in the viewport even as dots. Select the sphere in the Object Manager, go to the Coordinates tab, and set the py to about -8 cm. Test the animation. Finally, turn on materials in the viewport by opening the Options menu of the viewport and clicking on Materials. Open the Asset browser, search for water, drag and drop some water material onto the sphere in the Object Manager, create a Redshift dome light by opening the Redshift menu, selecting Lights, and clicking on the dome light. Go to the Object tab, search for HDRI in the Asset browser, drag and drop a cloudy sky HDRI you like into the texture property field of the dome light, and close the Asset browser. If necessary, go to the Coordinates tab of the RS dome light and adjust the rotation properties. Press the Play Forwards button. This is what we got after rendering. And now in slow motion, with the emitter speed set to 30 cm. Thank you for your attention, subscribe to the channel and put your finger up.